We're going to do a panel here, and hopefully you guys have a lot of questions here with their own personal experiences about innovation and how they approach it.
So I guess if failure is learning experience, I should be really, really smart, because Bill's exactly right. It's a process that we all go through, and I think we've all learned the hard way that it is really hard. RGAx, which is our innovation lab or accelerator or studio or whatever you want to call it, but it fits within the title, is, I think of it as an answer to a thought experiment, and it's a company that, it's a thought experiment that I think a lot of companies go through, which is how do you innovate within an established organization.
The first thing is that we had this conversation in this last panel about where are we? Is there a bubble? And it strikes me that that these things follow the Gartner hype cycle. If you've ever seen that, which is this idea of the peak of inflated expectations and the trough of disillusionment, and then eventually this plateau of productivity over time. And I think that InsurTech is really in this just amping up into this peak of inflated expectations. I think we have to be careful of that in the sense that somehow it's going to take over the world and all startups are going to displace all large insurance companies in the next 4 years. Because I don't know that seems reasonable in that. I think this idea that people overestimate change in the short term and underestimate it in the long term. So I think we've got to think about that it's this longer term conversation.
Sure. I realize the focus here is innovation and in particular accelerators and the bringing on of startups in particular. I think as a representative of Lloyd's, I can bring a little bit of perspective from the opposite end of the spectrum because Bill said Lloyd's is 328 years old, and so I think it's probably a good example of the imperative that while innovation is very critical at the beginning of the life cycle, you have to consistently and constantly be innovating and changing if you're going to survive for the long term, or in Lloyd's case, the long term.